Hey everyone, it's starting to look like we have a quorum, so let's kick this thing off. Welcome to what will likely be an abbreviated version of the Origin community call. I think I said the same thing last week and we ended up going for a better part of an hour, but today there are a few people who can't join us, and we've also got a lot on our plate. With the NFT NYC conference coming up next week and some product launches. As always, if you are watching on YouTube, please join the back channel at originprotocol.com/discord. And just before this call, I shared meeting notes there in the Origin Dollar discussion channel. If you look at that doc, you'll see that today we're going to focus primarily on sprint planning. And then we'll touch on a few governance proposals that are currently open for voting. And then there are a couple of product issues that I wanted to flag quickly. But let's start with some announcements first, unless anyone has anything that they want to mention here at the beginning. The first announcement or thing that I wanted to flag was that, Daniel, I think comp was harvested this weekend.
Yes.
For the first time in a while.
Yes, it was. Now, this was the comp for our new strategy, I believe, and so this does not reflect the comp that we can go back and rescue from our old strategy. So we still have a bit more coming in, even bigger amount that will be coming in.
Amazing. Yeah, it was really cool to see that happen. I was surprised by it because I didn't think it was going to happen until we go rescue the other funds, like you were saying. But I guess this is a good reason for, it's a good time to be getting into OUSD if anyone is interested in
Yes,
participating in that year. Yeah. Okay. The other announcement that I had on the agenda was the OpenZeppelin audit was finally published today, and I've got that linked here in the notes. And I think Aaron or someone had also linked it in our announcements channel in Discord. So thanks to Daniel who worked closely with the OpenZeppelin team, and also Tom, and then Josh for the blog post and helping to shepherd that audit to the finish line. Daniel, is there anything, I mean, we've talked about, I think, all of their findings at various times in the past, but is there anything to highlight just in summary about that audit?
We were really impressed and very happy at how thoroughly they looked through things, finding every little piece of lint under the couch. And so it was definitely money well spent, and it brings a whole lot of confidence to it. It was not just a rubber stamp audit, and they looked really hard and really deep. So really glad to have that done, and we've gone through and fixed a lot more than would be needed for security, but because we want to be way ahead of any problems, so that's why we put too much work into fixing all the things that were not ones that would cause a security problem, but might one day make something a little less secure. So very glad to have the audit done, and I sleep better at night having had a team look so thoroughly at our code.
For sure. And I think I saw in the blog post that mentioned that the biggest issue that they found, it's been a couple months now since they pointed out the possible concern with the OGN buyback, and so we disabled that several weeks ago. We've since re-enabled the OGN buyback. So now a portion of the yield that's automatically generated under the covers with OUSD, it's used to buy back OGN on Uniswap.
Yep, this could have allowed a attacker doing MEV attack to siphon off like a portion of 10% of OUSD's daily yield. But yeah, that's fixed now.
And even if even if we hadn't jumped on it so quickly, it wouldn't have been economically viable for someone to take advantage of this, right?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah. Okay. anyone else have any announcements or anything that they want to flag before we jump into sprint planning? Okay. So we, of course, do 2-week engineering sprints, and we have one wrapping up in 2 days, I believe, on Wednesday of this week. We'll start a new one on Thursday, and so I thought it'd be good for us to go through each of the big projects that were a part of this current sprint, and if we want to get into any candidate projects that come to mind that we might slate for the new sprint, we can do that. But let's start by just checking in on each of these existing priorities. So maybe Franck, do you happen to know the status of the staked OGN rescue feature that we were working on?
Yeah, so UPenn has a PR out for the deploy of that contract, but so I provided some review feedback because I don't think, there's some issues with it, and so I'm trying to have UPenn's attention to fix it, but so far we haven't made progress. So yeah, I don't think it's a lot of work, frankly. It should just be a couple of hours at most, but we need to fix these migrations before we can deploy.
Okay. And then once those are fixed, I guess we need another round of review, and then how long would the deployment take?
The deployment itself should be pretty straightforward. So there's 2 governance proposals, I believe, one on the old governor, and one on the new governor. So it would take probably historically it takes about a day to get a multi-sig transaction going and approved. So I'd say a couple of days after the review is done.
Cool. Thanks for continuing to push on that. The next big project, much bigger project potentially, was the precision upgrade for OUSD. Daniel, I know you've been doing a bunch of simulations and testing on that, and then we also wanted to notify existing exchanges and AMMs who might depend on the credits per token implementation. Where do we stand on all of that?
Yeah, so we have done a finished polish on the code on that, and we've got deploy scripts on that have been tested. We've also tested moving. We've confirmed that the balances are the same before and after doing the upgrade, and we've confirmed in simulations that we tested either sending or receiving from every account that's in OUSD, and verified that the amounts transferred, the balances before and the balances after, match up with how much was supposed to be transferred, and that it solves the issue that we were seeing before. Again, this is only a trillionth of a cent issue, but it makes some contracts unhappy, and it's always nice when exactly as much as transfers as you want to transfer. So we verified that it works. At this point, we're just basically stacking, getting a second person's eyes on it. Franck is working through verifying it as well. As far as exchanges go, we have notified exchanges, and I've set up a meeting to meet with KuCoin. I am looking through how they integrated with us. It should be seamless and shouldn't matter, at least how we were discussing integrating months past. So I'm not expecting that to be a blocker. I think the way everybody's integrating, we have made just transparently continues working for them.
Cool. And when are you meeting with them? Is that already scheduled?
That's scheduled for tomorrow night.
Cool. So when might we do the deployment if everything looks good for Franck and we confirm that there aren't any issues with KuCoin?
From my point of view, anytime after Wednesday morning is a good time to get started. The actual deploy timing will be up to the person deploying.
We should probably block off an entire day, and
Yes.
It would be good for the rest of the team also to run the verification once we start the migration process. And just to be clear, also while we do this resolution upgrade, OUSD functionality will be disabled.
Yes.
Yeah. you won't be. You won't be able to mint or redeem. So that OUSD will be temporarily paused, let's say. And so we expect it's gonna take between 24 hours. I mean, hopefully we can get it done in 24 hours, but we should get all our ducks lined up so that we can really get that done as fast as possible.
Thanks for flagging that, Frank. So
Yeah.
mints and redeems will be paused.
And
will
transfers.
Transfers also?
Yes, and to make sure that nothing gets confused, OUSD will revert anytime anyone even tries to check balances. So it's basically anything that uses OUSD is going to be paused during the upgrade. That way nothing gets confused about any amounts changing in the middle of the upgrade.
Okay,
we'll need to really announce that community-wide.
Yeah. Who would like to maybe be the owner for all the ways that we need to communicate that? Would that be Max or Aaron or Coleman or someone?
I'm happy to work with Aaron on that.
Okay. Thank you, and of course, I'm sure Daniel will be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah.
How that'll work, but I'm glad we talked through that because I didn't realize that we were going to have to pause for that long, and we certainly don't want people to be surprised when they try to use it and it throws errors.
Well, I don't think we'll actually need to pause for that long. That's just, we want to make sure that we get, do what we say and have room to, make sure it all works. But I don't think it will actually take 24 hours.
Sure. Okay. Well, it sounds like we're in pretty good shape on that project. The next one that we were going to deploy after the precision upgrade was the convex strategy. Is that one just sitting and waiting for a green light, or is there still work to do there?
That's still waiting on tests to be written, and the tests have been waiting on finishing out the OUSD resolution stuff. So now the OUSD resolution is complete. That's the next thing on my list, is to write the test for this. Cool. It does not, however, block any of the liquidity mining stuff. This is a separate process that isn't in the critical path of anything.
All right. We just want to juice the yield, that's all. Okay, then we have a few projects that Doman's working on. Doman, you want to run through each one of those and give us an update, starting with liquidity mining front-end changes?
So I haven't done anything on that front. Is that I'm not clear on the priority. That has like a higher priority than the transaction history view, and so I'm currently having that as a lower priority than the transaction history view. Then the transaction history view, I was hoping I was going to be able to show something on this call, but I won't. So by the end of the day today, I'm going to send a link to the staging environment when we'll be able to see like some kind of like the first version of transaction history and the ability, to query it for like other accounts. So we'll be able to see if it makes sense. Then on OUSD analytics, there's been some more data points added, the number of transactions per contract, and OUSD moves as a result of contract transactions. It's kind of obvious that those reports are getting, like, the UI is pretty terrible, and it's gonna probably need a bit of like, it has to look better when you list, multiple reports and then one report per page and stuff like that. So nothing major there. The one thing I still want to add to the analytics is for each week and month to be able to query Google Analytics and compare and get the info, like how much OUSD has been swapped using the front end, so our tab, and how much on other chains. Currently, we can do that pretty easily manually, but it's probably going to be like a day of work, to query those results and to make like a Google service account. It's able to query analytics reports. And yeah, the emails of those are now working properly. So emails are being sent by the analytics. I have to check if today, I didn't get the email today. So, okay. maybe too early saying that it works. So yes, I'll check that. Yeah, and that's it.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for the updates. I think we had decided last week on the liquidity mining front end that we would go ahead and leave both of them on that page and just add a separation between the two. Maybe just check in with Ari if you need a little bit more guidance on how he would want that to look. But I think you had already done most of the work there. It's just a matter of making them play nicely with one another.
Yeah, I'll prioritize this today since it's probably like a very small effort.
Okay.
To get that.
Cool. And I had added to my own calendar a reminder to take a closer look at your analytics report and all the questions we wanted to answer there. I did not do that. I think I punted on it when it showed up on my calendar. So I added an action item for myself to do that, and I would encourage everyone else to take a look at that when you get the email. And also a reminder that if you're not on that email list already, just ping Doman here in Discord, and he'll be happy to add you to the mailing list. And then someday we'll make that self-serve for other people in the community to be able to subscribe.
Yep, thanks for that.
Yep, thank you. So that brings us to the new sprint that starts on Thursday. We don't need to spend a bunch of time planning here, but are there any projects that come to mind that we should keep in mind as we're starting to make that list? I think it's probably more a question of which ones slip a little bit, to later this week or next week. And then, of course, we got a lot going on the NFT side. We've done a lot of work on OUSD over the past several weeks, and I think we might be turning a corner where we might just focus on the business side of OUSD for a little while.
Yeah, I think it's going to be mostly about wrapping up these deploys, right? On the engineering side.
Probably so. So wrap up the deployments, and then on
the analytics side, deciding when we are in a good place.
Yep. Okay. I think that's probably good for now for sprint planning. Then we can follow up in Discord and elsewhere during the week. I wanted to touch on a few governance proposals and then a couple of product issues. But before I jump into that, I noticed that there are at least a couple of people joining us today who I don't think have been here before. So I just wanted to say that toward the end of the call, in maybe 10 minutes or so, if you wanted to introduce yourself, let us know where you're, how you learned about Origin, what you're excited about, maybe what you're working on, that sort of thing. You're welcome to do that. So we'll come back to you a little bit later. And wanted to mention that there are, I think, 5 currently open governance proposals, but there are 2 that I wanted to really highlight. One of them is the proposal to allocate some OGN rewards for a certain period of time on the OUSD curve pool. This is the liquidity mining proposal that Josh has talked about several times before during this call. I think the thing to highlight here is that, it's as Josh has mentioned before, it's a relatively small amount of OGN compared to our daily volume that we see trading on exchanges. It's for a limited period of time so that we can, look at, measure the results and adjust accordingly as time goes on. And then more generally, just that virtually every successful DeFi project has had incentives. And this will be the first time that we provide OGN incentives for minting OUSD and providing that liquidity on Curve. And getting liquidity and making OUSD ubiquitous is what it's going to take for the product to be successful. So take a look at that if you haven't and cast your vote. Then the other that I wanted to highlight, I'll hand off to Daniel. I think you had just written up the proposal to allocate some funds.
Yeah, this is just a continuation of what we talked about. The OUSD Aave V2 strategy has been working for 2 weeks now and holding about $1 million in DAI during that time. And we're now ready to move it up to the next level of being a full-fledged strategy. So it's kind of still going incrementally. We propose to pull all the DAI for OUSD into Aave V2, the slightly higher yield, and very importantly, it diversifies where the money is being held, so it's held across several different platforms. Not a part of this proposal, but probably in the future after we see this holding the whole DAI for a little bit, we'll also probably move the USDC over as well, since the yields are better there, and that puts 2/3 of our stuff in Aave and 1/3 in Compound, roughly. That's kind of where we're headed, but we really like going incrementally so that we just see if there are any issues and kind of gradually raise the bug bounty on everything. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thanks for writing that up. And just something I noticed, if I click one of those governance proposal links in a browser where I guess have not used Snapshot, I get like a white page, an empty white page, and then if I go to one of those from the browser where I would do voting with my connected wallet and Snapshot, they work. I don't know if anybody else is seeing the same thing, but if you think the links are dead, that might be why. Okay. Any other governance proposals or any other comments on either of those that anyone wanted to add? The two product issues that I just wanted to flag were, first, I was trying to swap USDC for OUSD on our dApp today using Curve, and it doesn't seem to want to work. Doman, I think you're investigating this, is that right?
Sorry, took long to unmute. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm looking into that.
Okay. And it'd be cool to know, not a high priority, but with analytics in mind, it'd be cool to know if like what kind of swap volume there's been on the Curve pool, and if any of it has come from our dApp, it would be good to know. But it's one of many questions we'd like to be able to answer quickly as we go along.
That should already be present in the weekly report. That hasn't been done. But you can see in previous week and previous months report, there are already Curve transactions in there.
Cool. Good deal. The other thing that I've referenced before is that I keep trying to test with Dharma and Argent wallets, smart wallets, because I just, they provide a relatively simple fiat to OUSD on-ramp, compared to having an exchange account and then getting some kind of coin into a self-custody wallet and then using Uniswap or Curve or something like that. So I come back to these wallet apps like once a week or so, and now how many weeks later I still haven't managed to buy OUSD because I keep running into issues with them. So I'm just going to keep pushing on that, but I wanted to mention it since we talked about it before, and it's something I think we'd like to be able to point users to between now and when we hopefully have a lot of liquidity on centralized exchanges in the future to make things simpler for people. That's all that I had on the agenda, though. Kept the implicit promise to keep this under 30 minutes, but want to open the mic to anyone who would like to introduce themselves if you're interested in doing that. feel free to speak up now. Are there any other topics that that weren't included in the agenda that anyone would like to cover? Does anybody have a good joke or anything to close with? I feel like this is kind of an anticlimactic ending to the call.
It's so hard to land a joke on like two questions previously that went silent. It's like
Joke.
getting joke done on a hard mode. Whoever's courageous enough to do it.
Joke. My kids loved it last night. What is yellow? Is 3 feet tall and weighs 1 ton. A really, really big banana. Mike, what do you think? Rating?
It'll do. All right.
That's got to be a really wide banana if it's 3 feet tall. Maybe it's laying on its side and very long.
Yep.
Well, thanks,
Yeah,
Frank, for the effort. It's a fitting way to end this
Yes,
call.
you demonstrated a lot of courage. We are
Always trying to do my best.
I like it
All
how
right.
when you tried